Hi Fiber friend, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jess and this is Adventures in Knitting. This is episode 5 and today I'm going to walk you through the next 5 patterns that will be on my needles and the special yarn I'm using to knit them. But first, we have 2 things to talk about. The first one being thank you. There are a bunch of new faces here and I want to thank you for subscribing. When you subscribe to this channel, it helps other knitters find my videos, which means they will get to see the yarns that I'm talking about, the patterns that I'm talking about, and they'll discover maybe their new favorite yarn, maybe their new favorite pattern, because you subscribed. So thank you. I really do appreciate that. And the second thing I want to talk about is the big news that Spin Cycle dropped this week. They have retired their Dream State 2-ply worsted weight yarn. They did it in a really cute way on Instagram, so if you're not following them on Instagram, be sure to pop over there and take a look. It was adorable. They have announced today they are releasing a new Dream State, which is a 2-ply true worsted weight yarn. So I will be seeing them at Wool and Affair this year, and that will be my first chance to squish it. I'm very curious to see how much heavier it's going to be. If you watched my last video, know that I have 6 skeins of the Dream State yarn in my stash waiting to do the Inclinations Cowl by Andrea Mowry. And it is a lighter worsted, but I kind of liked that about it. So we'll have to see how the new Dream State works up. Now to the next 5 patterns in my project queue. Let's start with pattern number 1, and I'll set the stage for you here. I live in New England. Winters are cold, winters are long. I survived what had to have been the coldest winter ever last year with 1 cowl. So I am spending this summer knitting a lot of accessories. You will see a lot of shawls, a lot of cowls, hats, that sort of thing in my queue because I need an arsenal against the cold. And having a variety of cowls and shawls and hats and things to wear helps make that winter a little less brutal. So for the first pattern that I have on my list is the Jaunty by Andrea Mowry. If you watched a couple of videos ago, you will know my beef with Andrea Mowry, and I say that in a playful way. I don't know why, but I am missing the translation ship for Andrea Mowry's patterns. The first time I attempted one of her patterns, it made no sense to me. I nearly gave up knitting entirely. I'll link the video down below in which I described my entire meltdown of trying to do one of Andrea Mowry's patterns. I have since recovered. I have figured out what's going on. I am now up to my eyeballs in her shift cowl, and maybe my confidence in Andrea Mowry patterns is getting a little too big for my britches, but I'm going to try the Jaunty next. And I will be using West Yorkshire Spinners 100% blue-faced Leicester wool. I know what you're saying right away. How is that special yarn at all? This is special yarn to me. This is souvenir yarn. I picked this up at the Naked Sheep in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin on our last adventure. I'm going to be knitting the Jaunty up in a size 5 or a size 6 needle. So that is a 3.75 millimeter or a 4 millimeter needle. This is a DK weight yarn. The pattern calls for either a sport or a light DK or a worsted, and I think this might be somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to test both needle sizes and see what the pattern is that I come up with. Why the Jaunty? I work from home. I own my own business. I'm still cold in the winters though. I remember when I worked an office job, the sweater that I left on the back of the chair, I still have one of those. But when you work from home, you tend to start living in it because nobody sees you. So I have one of those sweaters. It's now 2 sizes too big, and it was too big when I got it. That's how it became the house sweater. I am 5'4". I have a shorter torso and a very large bust. So these proportions don't lend themselves to mass manufactured clothing. So there are a lot of pieces in my wardrobe that I kept because I was too lazy to send them back. And my house sweater is one of those things. But now that I've lost weight, the sweater is way too big. I'm emotionally attached to it, so I haven't gotten rid of it yet. I am thinking of breaking out my sewing machine and trying to sew it into something that's smaller. It is so ratty. This sweater is at least 7 years old. I don't even know how old it is. But I wear it so much that I've really worn it out, and I should give it a nice retirement. But I might break out my sewing machine and see what I can do with it. But the reason for the jaunty is when I'm wearing this house sweater, I would say it's like a tunic length sweater. I tend to wrap it though around my shoulders. I don't like it so much around my middle. I don't like how it makes me feel like I'm wrapped up in a robe or a blanket when I'm trying to work. I want something that's a little more versatile. Something that maybe I can wear as just a scarf, something that I can wear to cover my shoulders, maybe something just to drape over my shoulders so I have a little bit more warmth. And I think the jaunty will give me that versatility. So that's why that's next up on my needles. Pattern number 2, the Coracle Cowl by Isolde. All right, fiber friend, I'm not going to lie to you. I've actually already knit the Coracle Cowl by Isolde. I got about 3/4 of the way through the pattern and I stopped picking it up. So I knew then something was wrong. Something wasn't working right. That's usually what happens when I stop working on a project. Something about it is bothering me. So I took some time, took a look at the cowl as I had been knitting it. The Coracle Cowl has a basket weave fabric and it's a bandana shaped cowl. I was using a DK weight yarn from an independent dyer, beautiful yarn, 100% merino, lots of color on it and bright colors, reds, orange, yellows. I was hoping to do a very fall-like sweater or a fall-like cowl. But as I was knitting it, it just wasn't working. 2 things stood out to me. I think the DK weight was too heavy. The pattern calls for a sport weight or a light DK. I think this DK was a little too heavy. So as I was knitting up that fabric, I started imagining blocking it and it was gonna get really heavy and thick. And I wanted something with a little more drape to show off that basket weave. So I thought a lighter weight yarn might work better in that pattern. The second thing was the color. The color really detracted from that basket weave. I want the basket weave to be the showcase, not the color. And so the color was really distracting as I was working it up. So what I'm gonna do this time instead is use this farm yarn I picked up last week at Must Love Yarn in Shelburne, Vermont. This is from Yankee Rock Farm, 100% border Leicester wool in a 2-ply sport. This is a undyed skein of yarn. This is the natural fleece, and I'll hold it up for you. It doesn't come across really well on the camera, but there are little shots of gray in this yarn. So I think when I'm knitting it up, those little pockets of color are really going to come out in the basket weave. I think this will be a much better option for that Coracle Cowl, so I'm excited to get knitting it again because I really enjoyed the pattern. It is so well written and it creates such a fun finished object, so I can't wait to get started on that with a more suitable yarn. Project number 3. This one was not on my radar at all. But as I'm trying to accumulate more shawls, more scarves, more hats, things to keep me warm through the long New England winter, this one dropped into my inbox a couple of weeks ago from my friends at Spin Cycle, and there was something in it that really caught my eye, and I had to go check out this pattern that they were recommending yarn for. So to understand this, I need to explain Once upon a time, I lived in Scotland. I lived there for about 6 months. I studied at the University of Glasgow. So now if you say Scotland anything, my radar goes off. Not to be dramatic, but living in Scotland changed my life. It rewired my brain. It made me think differently about the entire world. It made me realize that not everybody lives like Americans do. That there are different ways of life. There are different ways to live your life. And Scotland will always be that pivotal moment in my life when I became a different person. I grew up south of Buffalo, New York, middle of nowhere. And I mean middle of nowhere. I was the first person in my family to get a passport. Nobody knew how to get a passport. Nobody had any idea. I just went out and did it. In typical teenage Jess fashion, I read a book. The book took place in Scotland. I said, I want to go live in Scotland, and I figured out how to make it happen. I applied for a study abroad program. I was accepted. I then had to figure out international flights myself, which I did. I figured out how to get my passport. And funny story about my very first passport, I think I still have it because they send it back to you, but like, you know, they put like holes in it and stuff. I have curly hair, as you might have noticed, very curly hair. Like any good teenager, young adult, I tried my darndest to straighten it repeatedly. So I chemically straightened it a month before I had to go get my passport photo taken. You know where this is going. I burned my hair so bad, it turned bright orange. Bright orange. It was so orange. I not only had to cut it off, I had to cut it off to the shortest pixie I've ever had. It was nearly a buzz cut. It was so short. My first passport photo, the passport that took me to my beloved Scotland, I looked terrible. and you know they tell you not to smile in your passport photo. So I have this atrocious haircut. I'm not smiling. And I'm just like, please take the photo. I'm never looking at this passport photo again. The hair did grow out. I never tried chemically straightening it again. I am now at the point where I can't be bothered to straighten it. My hair straightens very easily. I have since learned tools are really important when you're trying to straighten your hair. Products really important. So I can do it very easily and do it well now without any chemicals. But the curls is it. I'm not bothering. It's much easier to just let the curls be. But it took a really long time to get to that place. But a couple of weeks ago, Spin Cycle dropped, you probably know what I'm going to say, Scottish yarn into my email. This is used wool. This is from the Outer Hebrides in Scotland. It is called Grey Cotton Grass. And I don't think there is a more fitting name for a yarn. This is just a beautiful, beautiful wool. And it's one that I had been watching. I've been watching a lot of Scottish yarns that I do want to try and knit with. But when Spin Cycle presented this one, I knew this was an easy way for me to engage with a new yarn. If you watched my video last week, you know I approach knitting in a scientific method fashion. I try to only change one variable at a time. So for this, not only did Spin Cycle say, hey, we have this Scottish yarn, we have a pattern to go with it, and we've matched it with one of our colors. And the other thing that clinched the deal on this one was they paired it with Ghost Ranch. And I want to show you one of my current whips. This has made an appearance here on the channel before. I had hoped to have this done by now. It's the Shift by the Shift Cowl by Andrew Mowry. And I thought I would have it off the needles by now, but deciding last minute to sell the Airstream totally put a dent in my knitting productivity. So it is not done. But this is knit with Ghost Ranch. And this is the Ghost Ranch here, the main color in this section. And I'll show you that. So you can see, even through all of the cowl, as I've never knitted it up so far, it's mostly been a lot of pinks and grays, which works really well with the other two colorways that I'm using in this shift cowl. But what I love about the Ghost Ranch is, and you will find this with a lot of Spin Cycle skeins, is that they're completely different skein to skein. So this one that I just got has a lot of red and yellow and black in it. That's incredible to me. I love unexpectedness in color, especially as you're knitting it and you're watching the colors come together. In this shift cowl, I've had a couple of sections of really low contrast. This is one of them right here. And I'm starting to get into another one here as well. I love playing with low contrast. I know everybody says, you know, you want high contrast, you want your colors to stand out, but there's something about getting colors together that are close on the color wheel. It brings something else out in them. And so I'm not afraid to go low contrast. But that is all to say that I'm currently obsessed with Ghost Ranch. So when Spin Cycle came to my email and was like, we have Scottish yarn, and we have your Ghost Ranch, and we have this beautiful pattern, I said, yes, that was an easy buy for me. So the pattern is the Alula Shawl by Loda Lothgren. I'm going to be using exactly what you see here, dyed in the wool Ghost Ranch from Spin Cycle in the used wool. The pattern calls for it to be knit on a US 4 and a US 5. So this is to accommodate the main fabric of the shawl and also that beautiful lace work you see around the edges. I really fell in love with this pattern pretty quickly. So if you remember, as I was talking about the Jaunty, I tend to wrap things around my shoulders. I don't really want that full encompassing blanket feeling of a shawl. I want something smaller. I like the weight along my neck, along my shoulders, but I also really like the lace work in this pattern. It's going to add something that's next level to this shawl. So it'll make it even extra special. That's the third project. So now let's talk about the fourth project. This is a pattern that came to me from my friend Kate. Shout out to Kate. This is the Jacques Cousteau hat by Lala Puan Palo. And the yarn I will be using for this is my beloved Lopi yarn that I got from Mort Hill Farm and Fiber when I was at the Maine Fiber Frolic. If you haven't watched that video, I'll link it down below. I bought a lot of farm yarn at Maine Fiber Frolic. This Lopi, I got 2 skeins of it, and they're different skeins. So this one is all the fleeces that they have on their farm. So there's some gray in there, some black, some cream, and some browns. And then I have one that's just black and white. So the Jacques Cousteau hat is a very simple pattern. It does call for a US 4 size needle. This yarn, I think, there isn't a weight on this yarn. It is hand spun. I think this is a little heavier than the weight that's called for in the pattern. So I will be gauge swatching. I will try a couple of different needle sizes to see what I need to do to get the fabric that I like, and also then adjust the sizing accordingly based on the weight of this yarn. This is my first time knitting with Lopi. So again, scientific method, I only want to change one thing. So I don't want to approach this yarn with a more complex pattern than what I'm used to. I want to focus on engaging with the yarn instead of trying to figure out the pattern. And I think the Jacques Cousteau hat is perfect for that. And again, it's a hat, so it'll help me build up my arsenal for the cold New England winter. For my 5th and final project, we're going to switch gears a little bit here. Not a hat, not a cowl, not a shawl. We're going to be knitting socks. I'm super excited about this because I've never knit socks in my life. And a couple of days ago, I decided on a whim to sign up for the Woolly Thistle Summer Sock Sprint. I've never knit socks, ever. Not even once. I've never even attempted it. But I thought, you know, once upon a time, I figured out mathematical proofs. I think I can figure out how to knit a sock. Now, that being said, I was all confident about it. I signed up for the sock sprint. I knew I had sock yarn, and I started reading No Fear Sock Knitting by Denise DeSantis. You might be familiar with this book. I am a book learner. I think that's pretty established on this channel. So I knew when I wanted to knit socks, I had to find a book. I found this one. I started reading it, and I said, okay, now I just have to get the needles. I think maybe everybody has decided to start knitting socks all of a sudden because I cannot find the needles. I can't find needles anywhere. I'm specifically looking for a size 0, a size 1, or a size 2 circular 9-inch needle. I can't find it anywhere. Doesn't matter the brand. I've tried different brands. I've tried a set. I've tried the individual needles. I've tried everything. I do have size 0, size 1, size 2 Chaohu interchangeable needles with the longer cords. I may try doing a magic loop situation. I have done magic loop before, so I'm comfortable doing it again for socks. Again, when I'm learning something that's new, I try to keep the other factors something that I'm familiar with. But we can mix it up. We can try it out. The cast on for the Woolly Thistle sock sprint starts today as this video drops. So if you're interested in joining, it's not too late. I will put sign up information down below. Even if you've never knit socks, no finished object is required to join this knit along. You can just come hang out with everybody else knitting socks and have fun. The Woolly Thistle has a great Facebook group. They have a great Ravelry group just specifically for the sock knitting. So that will be my next project. Why this yarn? Because again, this is West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply sock yarn. This is the Butterflies collection in Purple Emperor. I picked this up from the Woolly Thistle on local yarn store day. The Woolly Thistle is my local yarn store here in New Hampshire. I'm not anywhere near it. It's more than an hour drive for me, but if you live in New Hampshire, you know that's not a big deal. Everything is an hour away. It was so fun to visit them for the first time on local yarn store day. They had so many fun things going on. And the staff there, I don't know how, but they know everything. They know everything. I went in looking for needles, and the person who helped me offered me 16 different solutions to something that I thought there was only one of. And she had taken into consideration all these things that I didn't even know to ask. So if you have any questions about anything, reach out to them. Their customer service team is incredible. I emailed them this week with the dumbest question. I had somehow managed to sign up and order things under 2 different email addresses. I don't even know how. They fixed it for me. So now everything is together. Super fast. They responded so quickly. So if you have questions about anything, if you're looking for some sock yarn, go check them out. They are so responsive. They're so fast. They're ready to help you with knitting socks. So if you've ever considered knitting socks, even a little bit, if you haven't done it yet, because I know we have a lot of new knitters here, join the Woolly Thistle sock sprint with me. Let's figure out how to knit socks together. Now, it's your turn. I have an extra special skein of yarn that I cannot find a project for. I've looked in Ravelry, I've done a deep dive, I've done way too much scrolling to try to find something for this skein. I picked this up at Maine Fiber Frolic. If you've seen the video, you know. This is 100% Shetland wool from Farthingstone Farm in Maine. It is hand dyed from the farmer in, I think this is called Night Violet. It's 200 yards of a DK weight. The color is absolutely stunning. The blues and the purples. This does have a little bit of a halo to it, so I'm guessing stitch definition won't be great on it. I haven't knit up a swatch or anything, so I can't be positive about that. It is lofty. It's very light and fluffy. So if you have a pattern recommendation for me for this skein of yarn, I would love to hear it. Drop your suggestions down below in the comments. I would also love to know what's on your needles. What are you working on? What are you working on next? Do you have special skeins of yarn, and why? And the other question that I want to ask, because it comes, I didn't know this was controversial. Souvenir yarn. How do you feel about souvenir yarn? When you go to visit a yarn store that's not your local yarn store, do you get souvenir yarn? How do you feel about it? I didn't realize some people are passionately against it. I'm not sure why. Maybe packing is a consideration. As I mentioned in my last video, now that we're getting a smaller rig, I am concerned about where I'm going to be stashing my yarn. In our current rig, I have a little hidey hole that isn't really suitable for storing anything else, but I can get yarn into it. So that's where I've been storing my yarn from the local yarn stores we visit on our adventures. I don't know. I have so much souvenir yarn that is really special to me, and I'm looking forward to knitting these things up into finished objects that I will just treasure. How do you feel about souvenir yarn? Do you get souvenir yarn, or are you anti-souvenir yarn? I would really love to know. If you enjoyed discovering all of this special yarn, seeing all this special yarn, looking through these patterns with me, please consider liking this video and subscribing if you haven't already. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, when you subscribe, other knitters will find my videos. They may discover their new favorite yarn, their new favorite pattern, and you will help enable them. I mean, you will help them discover their new favorite yarn. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next adventure.